Hello, guys, and welcome to my YouTube show. Today, I'm going to talk about nothing on. I'm not going to talk about the history of Soviet Union or the life or the history of Soviet Union. So today, I'm going to talk about something different. This time, I'm going to talk about the history of ancient Rome. This was 1,000 years before Soviet Union. So now I'm going to talk about the history of ancient Rome, going all the way back to the tale of Romulus and Remus, who were the legendary founders of Rome. So I'm going to talk about the story of Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome. So the story began when they were born in the Alba Longa, which was going to become the future Rome, or the Roman Empire that would take place 1,000 years later. So he was the twin. They were twin brothers. So the twin brothers were born in Alba Longa to their mothers Silvala, and Silvala was the daughter of the king of Alba Longa, Narbitor, and her brother was I'm trying to remember what her brother was. Her brother, I think her brother. Well, let me see what her brother was. I don't remember exact. I forgot the name. Uh, Ambulus. Ambulus was the brother of Silvala, who was the mother of Romulus and Remus. And so one day, she was asleep, I believe, the Romulus and Remus were kidnapped. No, they were taken from his mother, and they put them in the basket, like the story of Moses, where his parents put him in the basket because they wanted to save their son from the Egyptians killing him, from trying to kill Moses or putting Moses in the basket. So the uncle of Romulus and Remus put the babies in the basket. They put the babies in the basket because he wanted to take them away from her sister. So and he put the twins in the basket, and then the river took, I think it was the Tiber River, which is in Italy, which is in present day Italy. So the river took the basket away, and the uncle told her sister Zavilla that her twin babies were killed, and she was crying because it was very sad for her, and she couldn't believe that her twin sons were killed. And days later, the basket arrived somewhere in Italy, I believe, and it was it, and they were starting to cry, the twin babies, the Romulus and Remus. They started crying, and a she wolf heard them, and the she wolf took them out of the basket, and they started treating them as their sons. That's the wolf took care of the babies, who gave them food while they were growing up, and they gave them. And there's actually famous pictures of it on Google and Wikipedia. You could look it up and see the Romulus and Remus with the she wolf. And there's actually pictures of it on Wikipedia and Google. You could see it. So as they grew up, they became rivals. They became rivals because they wanted to be kings. They wanted to be the kings. They wanted to be king of Rome, and so they wanted to be the kings of Rome during that time. And they started saying that, oh, whoever sees more birds, or whoever sees more birds will become the king of Rome, and whoever sees less birds will not become the king of Rome. So they became rivals. So they wanted to become the king of Rome. They wanted to be the kings of Rome, Romulus and Remus, and so they became enemies. And so they started hating each other. So they started hating each other. And so they started building a wall over the city of Rome during that time. And they started building a wall against between the city of Rome, between the other side was given to Romulus and the other side was given to Remus. So and then one day they were one day, I think it was someday in the 750 BC or 753 BC, which was BC stands for before Christ. That was before Jesus Christ was born. So so one time Romulus jumped over the wall of Remus and he killed his brother Remus. And then Romulus became the king of Rome because he killed his brother, and then he became the king of Rome during that period. He became the king of Rome after killing his brother, after he jumped over the wall. So that's how the Roman kingdom started. And he was the first king of the Roman kingdom from the mid to late 8th century BC. And like I said, BC stands for before Christ. So he was the king. There were seven kings in the Roman kingdom. And then after the Roman kingdom came down, when there was a revolution in 509 BC, 509 BC, when the Roman kingdom was overthrown by Lucas Junius Brutus, who was one of the ancestors of Marcus Junius Brutus, who would assassinate Caesar in the future in 44 BC, which would take place 1,000 years later during the time of Caesar. So Romulus was one of the kings of Rome after he killed his brother, and his father was Mars, who was the god of war during that time. And he established the city of Rome on April 21st, 753 BC, which was 1,000 years ago, maybe 2,000 years ago, some period of time. So yeah, during his time, he considered the city of Rome was an asylum because a bunch of immigrants from different areas started to come into the city of Rome. And that's why he called Rome an asylum, because a lot of immigrants were coming into the Rome and the population was growing during that time. And that's why he started calling it an asylum during that time. So the Roman kingdom would last over 200 years, from 753 BC to 509 BC, when it was overthrown by Lucas Junius Brutus, one of the ancestors of Marcus Junius Brutus, who would kill Caesar in 44 BC. So I'm planning to talk more on the ancient history of Rome, and I'm planning to cover that in my future videos. In my future videos, I'm also going to talk about the history of ancient Greece and ancient Egypt in my future videos. So I'm planning to do that soon. Stay tuned, and I will upload more videos on the history of ancient Rome, Greece, ancient histories of Rome, Greece, and Egypt coming up soon.